What's up, Dunwoody? Welcome back to the podcast. It's all about Dunwoody, Georgia. Matt Weber, I'm the host, real estate agent. So if you need help with that, hit me up. Show sponsored by Brett Friedman, Dr. Brett Friedman of the Village Orthodontics, who is right across the street from our guest today, who is Riley Westbrook and Valor Coffee. So Valor has one location in Alpharetta, and they're looking to move into the Village. I'm really excited about it just because I've watched you guys on social media and that kind of thing, and you seem like you're going to be a lot of fun. So... And I've got a surprise for you, too, at the end you might not know about. So
Okay.
Yeah, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
Nothing much, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm stoked. We're stoked to break into Dunwoody. So,
well, you guys seem like you're a big deal in Alpharetta, so why would you choose Dunwoody?
It's kind of the same way that we went about Alpharetta. In ways it just fell into our lap. Because myself and my partners, Ethan and Ross, started Valor when we were 19 years old and had no cash. So we were a mobile operation. We ran a Kickstarter and started like a mobile cart. And we always looked at these cool shops, ITP, and thought about how we wanted to be one of those as well. So
then you started having kids and you realized you didn't want
that was definitely a part of it for sure. But then we also, in ways, the ITP coffee scene is saturated. I think there's still room for it. But even beyond that, we just saw that these suburban cities, especially these ones that are getting revitalized, just didn't really have true specialty cafes. That's not to say that they weren't getting value from the mom and pop cafes, but especially local roasters who were pushing really, really great product. So we kind of saw the need for that. And then beyond that, the cafes, a lot of the cool cafes that we saw had just really pretentious service. And that was kind of our whole thing. Do we want to go into the city with the cool, young, hip crowd and, do the cool, young, hip thing where it's, what can I get for you? And then that's basically the end of the interaction.
Flip your hair to the side.
Yeah. Or do we want to kind of pop out to the suburbs and, serve a great product, but be empathetic and give, excellent service to the 60-year-old man who comes into our cafe every single day and is driving our business.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how did you start at that young of an age? I know you're still doing this Indiegogo stuff. Like, how do you guys, at that age, how did you start that first location?
Yeah. So, when we were 19, we worked at just other random coffee shops. Like myself and Ross worked at this place out, in North Georgia that was pretty much a deli with an espresso machine. But we really loved specialty coffee, and we, took in as much podcast and YouTube content and stuff like that about
the best
coffee.
way to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And so we've always told people that there's this podcast. They aren't really doing it anymore, but it's called the Cat and Cloud Coffee Podcast, and they were like the number one driver of our education on coffee. And a lot of people, usually they have their manager who trains them, but we just kind of bootstrapped it ourselves. Worked at this place that didn't really care about coffee, and so we just decided, hey, let's start something ourselves. But clearly, we didn't really have access to $400,000 at 19 years old. So we were like, we could probably figure out an espresso machine and a grinder like on a wooden cart. So did a little Kickstarter for $10K, met the goal, mostly driven by close friends and family at that point, and then just put another $10K on a credit card that we had 0% interest for 15 months on, and I
was doing the same thing at age 19 as well. And filling up that credit card.
Yeah. We were like, if we don't pay this off in 15 months, and maybe we'll call it quits. But somehow we did. We booked events and did good bit of weddings in that time, and eventually ended up.
What'd you do with the cart? Did you go to like local businesses, or it was just event type stuff?
Yeah, mostly events for sure. We did a couple of cash transaction pop up type of things, but our real money came from weddings and film sets. So we kind of it's funny, like doing the film set thing, you have to be super, super open and flexible. So we've been hit up about a couple of those because we kind of revived our catering arm this past year after a pretty long time and built out a new cart. And we can't do those the way we used to be able to, because they'll hit you up at like 7 p.m. and they'll be like, we need you here at 11 p.m. We're filming overnight. And we're just like, we're at home watching our kids, but we're trying to figure out the infrastructure to maybe pay some of our baristas a handsome reward for going out and doing that. Because you can push the budget on those last minute things. So might be a good gig for someone to do for, $400 or $500 for a night or something.
Yeah, well, there's a huge studio opening up in Doraville, like real close to my neighborhood, like on the south side of Dunwoody. I don't know if you know where Peachtree Industrial and 285 hit.
Yeah.
There's going to be a huge studio there, so maybe they'll need your services.
Yeah, there we go.
That's cool. So where did you move from there? How did you get the Alpharetta location going? Did you make a lot of money with that cart, or was it?
I mean, I'm not going to say we made a lot of money, but well, especially in the catering side. I mean, neither of all of us. Sorry, let me start that again. All three of us weren't taking any cash from the business. Yeah. So, every bit went back into it. And so we only had cost of goods associated, cost of goods and, filling up the tank of the truck we were driving to the event.
Yeah. Luckily at 19, you don't have that many expenses, so.
True. Yeah.
You can't do that now for sure.
Yeah. We made okay cash doing it, but eventually we were doing like this, transactional event where we didn't make any money. It was a Halloween hot chocolate event in Vickery Village in Cumming, and one of the guys that walked up was like, I'm like involved in this co-working company. You guys should come and just do this every day at the co-working company. So basically got linked up with them and ended up like a couple months later, I was kind of the one in the best position to quit my job. So it was January of 2018. We started our, permanent pop-up in the back of Thrive Co-working in Alpharetta. Okay. And so that was when things started to really move and we were able to, generate some cash every single day.
Were you already going by Valor then?
We were. Yeah. From the beginning. Mm-hmm.
What is Valor? Or what is it to y'all?
That's a great question. So, when we were starting this, especially, the definition of valor is courage in the face of adversity. So, a few 19-year-olds who didn't know what they were doing, it was kind of relevant. But beyond that, valor in Spanish translates to value. So at this point, we kind of point to that one a little bit more. We don't like to be called valor. We like to be called valor, just to be clear. We don't get upset by the
but mindset. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, we're a values-based company. We are very, very driven by our mission, vision, and values. And, chiefly the desire to give an excellent product and empathetic service. One of our values is put empathy into action. And so we kind of live our day to day by that. So that's kind of where we land on the definition of the name now.
Okay. Nice. And then you've got your, what do you call it? The roastery in Roswell. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. So,
you run out of space in Alpharetta and you're like, we got to get bigger.
Everything we did at the start of this company, and, I think looking back, it's, the hardest times, but the best decisions we've ever made has been very much like easing into things. So, doing the cart instead of really trying to find someone to give equity invest in the company as a cafe at the beginning. So like that was one of our best moves. And then the same thing, instead of just like going out and starting to roast coffee in our own space where roasters cost anywhere between $30,000 to $100,000, not giving up a percentage of our company, instead finding a space to roast in weekly, rent their space from them. So when we were still the pop-up in Alpharetta, pre-cafe, we were roasting in Peach Coffee Roasters in Johns Creek. They were just friends of ours who let us come in. It ended up stretching out to twice a week to, roast and fulfill our orders. And then we did that So during that process, opened the cafe, and then once we got our footing with the cafe and started really pushing some heavy volume there, and started having to be at Peach like all day long in their space, we were like, okay, we need to get our own roasting space open. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know, right? And so you found
For
these
sure.
Peach guys, and I feel like this is kind of like the brewery space where people are kind of like ripping each other off and like interacting with each other and sharing ideas and that kind of stuff. I feel like that is with my brewery friends. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then where'd the podcast come from?
Man,
What is it, Coffee Sometimes podcast?
Yeah.
This is I've been waiting to get to this part. So as a podcast guy.
For sure. So, I've always had the desire to do it. And honestly, in a way, it was to create a very, very extensive FAQ about all things Valor and just all coffee questions that we were getting. So we, especially in the Atlanta area, we were one of the first coffee carts. I mean, there was a few around, especially, pushing like really specialty product. And even still across the country, you have people who were in the same spot that we were. They want to open something. They don't have the cash to do it. They think, okay, I can do the coffee cart thing. So, I mean, several times a week we get either an info email or an Instagram message saying, hey, I want to start a coffee cart. Like, how should I do that? And we were always like, let's just record like an hour-long video. And then from there, we were like, we could probably take this a step further. I think we have, first of all, it's just bonding time of me and the boys just to sit down and
creative time, right?
Yeah, and talk for an hour or whatever. But it also creates opportunities whenever we get a question, we can talk about it. And then the next time we get the question, we can say, hey, thank you so much for asking the question. Here is an hour's worth of us talking about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I kind of hear the same thing. Like, why start a podcast? The first real estate brokerage I was at, I was like, yeah, they were like, what's your, lead flow ideas? Like, how are you actually going to meet people? I was like, I want to start a podcast. And their kind of eyes glazed over, like, what does that mean? Like, what are you going to do with that? And I'm like, oh, it'll be a good way to, get people to know me. And, if people get to know you, then they really want to come into, like, I'm not that much of a coffee drinker, but I'll go there to see you guys. You know what I mean? Like, do a lot of the customers listen to the show, or is it more?
I would say it's usually
coffee
more than I expect. I mean, we're not huge or anything, but we do have some amount of Valor faithfuls across the country who have traditionally ordered our coffee or watched us build out our cart and go into a business, and then they have like that same dream or something like that. Yeah. So there is some of that, but we're always surprised by the people who come into the cafe and are like, oh, I heard on the podcast the other day, and we're like, you listen to us just like goof off for an hour? Thanks. But it's funny. We always joke about how our wives barely listen to it because they just listen to us. Yeah. They're like, we hear your stupid jokes at home. We don't have to like,
exactly
spend an hour of our time hearing them.
And then every once in a while, one of her friends will be like, Matt said this about you on the podcast. I'm like, oh God. Or people know a lot about Sasha just from me on social media and that kind of thing. It's funny.
But just very quickly, back to Dunwoody, we a lot of the things about Dunwoody are the things that we love about Alpharetta. We love again that suburban vibe, very residential vibe, because we've noticed that a lot of people want to get their coffee, like right after they leave their house on their way into their job in the city, or want to walk out, to Valor on the weekend instead of having to get in their car and drive into the city for a coffee on the weekend or something like that. So we opened our cafe right around the time that the city center in Alpharetta opened, and we just see so much of that same just like pent up potential in Dunwoody. Not to say that it's not already great, because there are so many great things. But
if you're waiting for Dunwoody to blow up, just keep waiting, because that village area has been Oh man, everybody's since I don't know. I started this podcast like 2018. I've been hearing it since then. Where one of these days that area is just going to explode. But it is like the focal point of Dunwoody. Like that's where there's a little bit of walkability there, but there's a lot of potential
For sure.
And yeah, it's just it's just kind of old looking, and the company that owns that shopping center, Regency, has you got to get them to get motivated to build something badass there because it's all full. I'm surprised you guys even got a spot. Like it's full with good businesses that are making money, and so like they can't shut them down.
Yeah, and I mean, props to them. They came and found us, and so I think they're trying to do it, trying to do their thing, and they've been honestly a pleasure to work with. So
that's what I hear,
and I know a lot of people can't say that about their landlords. So
no.
We'll see how the next 5 years goes, but it's we're happy with the relationship.
And you're surrounded by some good places too. That barn is just a few spaces down from you guys, and they've kind of exploded recently. That was something, I guess it was like maybe a year and a half ago that David started that place up, and they've really got a name for themselves now as like the cool part of Dunwoody. So and that's also, so here we go. Have you ever heard of the Dunwoody 4th of July parade?
I have. I think that we were told about it last summer, and it was like kind of right after we made our announcement. So it was a little maybe too soon to be involved.
Well, you're involved now because that's why you came on the show, because I was going to spring this on you. I'm just kidding. No, I'm one of the co-chairs of the parade though, and you guys should definitely get involved in that. And it also. So it starts at the other side of Mount Vernon and comes down Mount Vernon and ends right in front of your shop.
Sweet.
Like right there next to over by Starbucks kind of. Or am I allowed to say that on the show?
Oh, you can say it.
Speaking of Starbucks, they're going to have a tough time now. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool. It'll just end right there. So I'm going to hit you guys up for sponsorships in the future. So here's my hot take. You guys do the hot takes.
Oh yeah.
I drink my coffee with a little bit of creamer. And a few cups or a few ice cubes in it. I'm probably not your target market, but
you sound like our target market.
Oh, really? That is.
Yeah. I hate to be the guy that says we don't have too much of a narrow target market, but we've got something for everybody.
Really?
I mean, I'm drinking my coffee black. I typically just drink a black cup, so I can taste our quality hammanship. But workmanship. But
well, what's your favorite stuff? What's your most popular, and like what do you was it Ethan and Ross? What do they like?
They're kind of in the same boat as me. We typically go either a plain drip coffee or a pour over, or we go with an espresso based beverage, either straight espresso or a cappuccino or something of the sorts. Cappuccino is just espresso with about 4 ounces of milk in the traditional sense. But I mean, as far as most popular goes, that's where I'm saying that, like,
everything.
We noticed a long time ago that just because we like something doesn't mean that should be what we push.
Yes.
So now I see that throughout our merchandise and all of that. It's not I can think something is cool, but not want to wear it on my own back or something of those sorts. We're really just trying to put ourselves in our guests' shoes and be like, what did they like? So when we first started, we didn't do cold brew at all. We just did like flash brewed iced coffee because and some special people think it's technically better because you retain more of the complexity of the coffee. We were like, people want cold brew, and this is a great opportunity for us to make our line move way faster. Yeah. So we bring in a huge kegerator, and we start kegging all of our cold brew, and then also doing this nitro oat lavender vanilla latte, and then that is now by far our most.
Took off.
I mean. It's good margin on the drink. We get to, all it takes to make it is this, because we make the kegs in our roastery completely apart from the service side of things. That's cool. It doesn't have to go through the espresso machine line, all that stuff. So it's, I don't walk into Valor and drink that drink every day, but a lot of people do. So, yeah.
So that's a hot one. That's cool. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that Indiegogo campaign. You guys still doing that, right?
We are, yeah. Okay. I think we started it last Saturday, so we're 6 days in, and we're a little over 10K out of 25. So we're on the right track for sure. We're a little ahead of schedule.
So what do you need from Dunwoody? You need somebody to, what is it, $1,200 for coffee for a year? Is that still on the table?
For sure. I think there still might also be 3 early bird coffee for a years left at $1,000 as well. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. Our top spender spent $4,000 on coffee beverages last year at our Alpharetta location. I mean,
so that $1,200 would have been worth it.
Yeah, by far. So what we've been telling most people is, this campaign isn't as much of a need for extra cash, because could have grouped that into the the rest of the funding that we got for this cafe. We did this very intentionally so that people could be the foundation of Valor Dunwoody, and then we can give you a little something in return for that as well. So I promise you, we're not going to come out super great on these coffees for a year, but we want to give them out because it's such a
people
such
to
an
come in
amazing
at the
deal.
ground floor, and that's cool. I like that.
Exactly. So it's a good value, and you can get multiple drinks a day. Any drink you want up to an $8 value, which is, to go over $8, you have to really, really try. So, yeah.
That's cool. And when's the opening date? Do you have one yet?
I wish I did.
What was the original open date, like 2 years ago? Or...
So we have never, with any of our things, we've never given an explicit, this is where we're going to open. I think originally we said fall, winter 2022. Which totally could have happened, but DeKalb County was a beast to get through on the permitting side. And so we finally did, and then from there, I mean, our contractors have been on it. Like, I've done 2 different build outs in the past, and it's always been behind schedule, but these guys are like 3 days ahead of their schedule right now. So we're getting really, really close. I'll say, I'll give the most transparency here of anywhere. It won't be sooner than 4 weeks from now, and it shouldn't be longer than 2 months from now.
Okay, so next couple months.
Yeah,
that's
but
awesome.
Don't hold me to that. Don't hold me to it.
I won't. And you tell me when you get a date. You tell me, I'll blast it out for you.
Will do. Yeah, we'll probably soft open to start. We've typically done that in our other ventures, where just we're there one day, we have our permits, we've been training, and we're just like, let's just unlock the door and see what happens. Because we went through a pretty big hiring round, and we're kind of still towards the end of it. So if you want to work at Valor, then email hiring@valor.coffee and shoot us your resume, and we'll talk. But we're getting close to the end of it, but we had to hire like 15 people because we're also splitting our staff in half at Alpharetta, and half of them are coming to Dunwoody. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, so we'll have a little bit of a veteran crew, and so they'll be able to take the new people under their wing. But I expect that. I just, I don't want to overwhelm anyone, because even me, I've worked in the coffee industry for a while, and if I was in there with these systems that I've never actually practiced, I would fold under the pressure. So if we were just like grand opening,
right. And you'll be able to watch. They'll be able to watch the other people. I like that idea. That's cool. So what do you think about the space? Is this as big as Alpharetta, or is this bigger than Alpharetta?
It's bigger. It's like we're talking 3x the size for at least the service and seating area. Honestly, has a little bit less storage, but we're getting really creative with it. We've always wanted. Again, I'm going to leave a little bit up for surprise, but we've always wanted to do a central bar, like if you ever walk into some sort of market or something, it's just like everything's in the middle and everything else is around it. Service and where you order all take center stage, and then everything is around all the tables and whatnot around it. We have always wanted to do that, and it's not, quite exactly as crazy as I just made it sound. Like, the space just isn't big enough for that, but there's a lot of elements of that. We're getting to introduce some cool bar flow stuff that we've always wanted to do. And then ultimately, I mean, prices and construction of a lot of things have skyrocketed, but we did have a little bit of of extra cash on this one compared to Alpharetta. So we've been able to do some cooler furniture and seating and design things with this that I think it's going to be really cool. I mean, we
What are you
don't.
gonna do with that funky drive-through at the front?
It's all patio space now.
Is that gonna be patio?
Yeah. So they filled it in, and we're gonna have a pretty huge patio, which I'm really really stoked about because we have a patio in Alpharetta. It's kind of small, but like people love it. Like they love being out there. So
Yeah.
I look forward to the summer days where we can prop the doors open and have people out there and stuff. That's going to be one of my favorite elements of the space for sure.
That's awesome. Well, that one day when you unlock the door, you tell me, and I'll come up there and
Oh yeah.
hang out.
Oh yeah.
I'll sit on your patio.
Hey, maybe I'll give you a little pre-open tour.
Oh, sounds like a promise. All right, sweet. Well, that's awesome, man. Dunwoody's excited about you. I've talked to many people that know who you guys are just from the Alpharetta location, and so that's really cool. I'm sure you're going to do well, and I'm going to try to help you out.
Thanks, man. We're stoked about it. We really can't wait. I'm losing sleep over how excited I am.
Yeah. All right, so the call to action for Dunwoody is get your kid up there, get your young adult up there to work, and then check out the podcast. What's it called? The Coffee Sometimes podcast.
Oh yeah.
If you want to get to know these guys, and other than that, just wait for those doors to open and flood in.
Yeah. You can really get the best updates from us either through the podcast or through our Instagram. Our Instagram is valor.coffee.
There you go. Well, cool. Well, thanks for making time for me, man.
Oh yeah, dude. I appreciate you having me on.